Okay, imagine the world is cooked, like fully cooked. No governments, no Wi-Fi, the sky is toxic, and somehow you're still the main character. Today we're diving into 33 upcoming post-apocalyptic and dystopian games where civilization said, we're done. And now it's all rusty cities, angry robots, questionable fashion choices, and people surviving on canned beans and pure vibes. So, let's get started then. If you've ever wondered what happens when your toaster decides it's a god, Supreme Experiment has the answer. And spoiler alert, humanity doesn't come out on top. Developed by Argonov Games, Supreme Experiment is an upcoming first-person sci-fi action-adventure set in a post-apocalyptic world where machines have evolved into a new species, complete with their own deities. Players will leave the towering remnants of human cities and descend into eerie landscapes shaped by silence after the machines fall, navigating a mix of survival, exploration, and combat. The game promises immersive sim mechanics, atmospheric storytelling, and multiple endings, allowing choices to shape the narrative and the fate of what remains of humanity. With a blend of cyberpunk aesthetics, supernatural undertones, and lore-rich environments, it positions itself as both a thriller and a philosophical journey where nothing is what it seems. Planned for release on PC via Steam, the title emphasizes freedom of playstyle, whether through direct confrontation, stealth, or unraveling mysteries hidden in the ruins of machine civilization. Though the release date is still unannounced, the announcement trailer teases a hauntingly cinematic experience that balances open-world exploration, PvE combat, and story-driven depth, making it one of the most intriguing upcoming projects in the sci-fi gaming space.
For a reason. This evolution of the machines was not random. There's something vast behind it. And it's coming for everyone, not just the machines. The people in the cities don't know it yet, but soon they will.
If you've ever dreamed of being chased by cosmic goo while your oxygen tank screams louder than you do, Resonant Q is basically your nightmare turned into a co-op party. Developed by Japan Productions, Resonant Q is an upcoming cosmic survival horror looter shooter set on a collapsing orbital ring, a massive space structure infested with anomalies and biomass that defy logic. Designed for 1 to 3 players, the game blends tense atmospheric exploration with third-person combat, forcing players to manage dwindling energy and oxygen supplies while scavenging loot to upgrade their evolving base. Its mechanics emphasize critical decision-making, as every choice, whether to fight, flee, or conserve resources, can determine survival in a hostile environment. The game promises a mix of psychological horror, crafting, and cooperative multiplayer, with cinematic presentation and branching encounters that highlight its dystopian tone. Players ascend to the orbital ring to hunt anomalies, gather rare materials, and craft gear that unlocks deeper layers of the mystery, all while confronting the eerie silence of space and the grotesque biomass spreading across the station. With a release window set for 2026 on PC via Steam and Epic Games Store, Resonant Q positions itself as a chilling blend of sci-fi horror and looter shooter progression, offering both solo and co-op campaigns where survival is never guaranteed and every mission feels like a desperate gamble against the void. If you've ever wanted to rip off a monster's arm and then use it as your new best friend, Graft is basically the gym membership you never asked for. Developed by Harebrained Schemes, the studio behind BattleTech, Shadowrun Trilogy, and the Lamplighters League, Graft is an upcoming post-cyberpunk survival horror RPG set on a dying, continent-sized space station known as the Ark. The game's core mechanic revolves around literally grafting pieces of your enemies onto yourself, transforming your body into a hybrid of nightmare and survivor. Every graft not only grants new abilities and weapons, but also carries fragments of its previous owner, weaving psychological tension into the narrative as players struggle with identity and corruption. Blending classic survival horror combat with RPG progression, Graft emphasizes atmospheric exploration, resource management, and consequence-driven choices that shape both gameplay and story. The haunting environments of the Ark are filled with grotesque creatures, cybernetic horrors, and mysteries tied to the station's collapse, all presented with a cinematic flair. Harebrained Schemes promises a story-driven experience where survival means embracing monstrosity, and every decision, whether to graft, fight, or flee, reshapes your path. Planned for release on PC via Steam and Epic Games Store, Graft positions itself as a bold fusion of body horror, cyberpunk aesthetics, and immersive RPG storytelling, making it one of the most daring upcoming titles in the genre. If you've ever wanted to roleplay as a neon outlaw who gets fined for jaywalking in a city where jaywalking doesn't even exist, No Law is basically your dream come true. Developed by Neon Giant, the studio behind The Ascent, No Law is an upcoming first-person open-world shooter RPG set in the gritty cyber-noir metropolis of Port Desire, a city overflowing with corruption, neon lights, and danger. Announced at the Game Awards 2025, the game shifts perspective from Neon Giant's previous top-down style to a fully immersive first-person experience, drawing comparisons to Cyberpunk 2077 while carving out its own identity. Players can choose between stealth or loud combat approaches, with environments and enemies reacting dynamically to noise, sightlines, and pressure, creating encounters that feel alive and unpredictable. The developers emphasize handcrafted, densely built cyberpunk spaces, offering freedom of playstyle and narrative depth. While the release date has not yet been revealed, No Law promises a brutal FPS combat system, reactive AI, and a richly atmospheric world that blends RPG progression with cinematic storytelling. With its focus on player agency, immersive environments, and a city that feels like a character in itself, No Law is shaping up to be one of the most ambitious cyberpunk shooters on the horizon. If you ever wanted to hunt robot dinosaurs while also arguing with your guildmates about who forgot to bring healing potions, Horizon Steel Frontiers is basically Horizon meets MMO Chaos. Announced at G-Star 2025 by NCSOFT in collaboration with Guerrilla Games, creators of Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, Horizon Steel Frontiers is a brand new MMORPG set in the Horizon universe. Unlike the single-player predecessors, this title expands the franchise into a large-scale, cross-platform online world for PC and mobile via NCSoft's Purple app, blending Horizon's signature hunting action combat with advanced MMORPG systems such as guilds, raids, and cooperative exploration. The game is set in the Deadlands, a new frontier where machine hunters face colossal mechanical beasts and uncover mysteries tied to the collapse of ancient civilizations. Players will be able to customize characters, craft gear, and engage in massive battles against machines, while the narrative promises to retain the philosophical depth and environmental storytelling that made the Horizon series iconic. Though the release date remains TBD, the announcement trailer showcased cinematic visuals, dynamic combat, and a world designed to encourage both solo adventuring and large-scale multiplayer encounters. With its fusion of MMO progression, Horizon's lore-rich setting, and cooperative machine hunting gameplay, Horizon Steel Frontiers is positioned as one of the most ambitious expansions of the Horizon franchise yet, aiming to redefine how players experience Aloy's world in a shared online space. If you thought vacuuming your house was hard, wait until Atomic Heart 2 makes you fight a vacuum that wants to vacuum you. Announced at Summer Game Fest 2025, Atomic Heart 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to Mundfish's retro-futuristic action RPG shooter, set for release in 2026 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X/S. Building on the surreal alternate history Soviet aesthetic of the original, the sequel expands the scope from Facility 3826 to a global stage, where robotic uprisings and bioengineering disasters threaten humanity worldwide. Players will once again step into the role of Major P3, navigating a dystopian world filled with grotesque machines, mutated creatures, and morally complex choices. The developers promise deeper RPG systems, including expanded skill trees, special abilities, and more intricate weapon customization, alongside refined combat mechanics that emphasize tactical variety and player agency. The narrative will continue to blend philosophical undertones, political satire, and psychological tension, while offering multiple paths and endings shaped by player decisions. With its mix of cinematic storytelling, brutal FPS combat, and surreal world building, Atomic Heart 2 aims to surpass its predecessor's success, over 10 million copies sold, by delivering a more ambitious, globally scaled adventure that balances horror, humor, and chaos in equal measure. If you've ever wanted to play detective while also wondering if your coffee machine is secretly a replicant, Blade Runner 2033, Labyrinth is here to make paranoia fun. Developed and published by Annapurna Interactive in collaboration with Alcon Interactive Group, this marks Annapurna's first in-house game and the first Blade Runner title since 1997. Set in Los Angeles after the blackout, the story unfolds in 2033, bridging the gap between the original 1982 film and Blade Runner 2049, while also following events from the anime Blade Runner Black Lotus. Players step into the shoes of a former Blade Runner called back into service, navigating a world where memories, identity, and morality blur into a labyrinth of choices. The game promises a narrative-driven adventure, focusing less on combat and more on atmosphere, investigation, and psychological tension. With Chelsea Hash directing and Cosimo Galuzzi leading art design, the project emphasizes cinematic storytelling, moody visuals, and immersive environments that echo the franchise's noir roots. While the release date has not yet been confirmed, Blade Runner 2033, Labyrinth is slated for PC and consoles, offering fans a chance to explore a hauntingly beautiful dystopia where every decision feels like a test of humanity itself. If you've ever wanted to play a game where dodging bullets, mutant claws, and frame rate drops all count as survival skills, Cinder City is basically Dark Souls meets your graphics card's worst nightmare. Officially unveiled in August 2025, Cinder City is the new name for NCSoft's ambitious project previously known as LLL. Developed by Big Fire Games, it's a massive MMO tactical shooter powered by Unreal Engine 5, designed to deliver a seamless open-world experience across PC and consoles. Set in a dystopian version of Seoul, the game blends military shooter mechanics, mutant horror elements, and futuristic cyberpunk vibes, creating a chaotic yet intriguing mix of genres. Players will explore a sprawling city torn apart by conflict, facing both human factions and grotesque mutated enemies while engaging in large-scale tactical battles. The developers emphasize open-world immersion, cooperative play, and narrative depth, promising a world that reacts dynamically to player actions. While the gameplay trailer at Gamescom Opening Night Live 2025 revealed some rough edges like frame rate drops, it also showcased intense firefights, atmospheric environments, and a bold attempt to merge MMO progression with cinematic storytelling. Scheduled for release in the second half of 2026, Cinder City aims to surprise players with its blend of survival, horror, tension, futuristic warfare, and MMO-scale systems, positioning itself as one of NCSoft's most daring projects yet. If you ever wanted to throw office furniture at interdimensional monsters while filing HR complaints about gravity itself, Control Resonant is basically your dream job simulator. Officially revealed at the Game Awards 2025, Control Resonant is the full sequel to Remedy Entertainment's acclaimed 2019 title, Control, co-financed and co-produced with Annapurna Pictures. Launching in 2026 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Mac, the game shifts the setting from the oldest house to a paranormally warped version of Manhattan, where reality itself bends under a cosmic crisis. Players step into the role of Dylan Faden, brother of Jesse Faden, who now wields a shape-shifting melee weapon called the Aberrant, alongside new supernatural abilities. The narrative explores Dylan's search for Jesse, hinting she may have gone rogue, while expanding the Remedy-connected universe, RCU, tying into Alan Wake and other projects. Remedy promises a larger, open-ended action-adventure RPG experience with deep progression systems, dynamic combat, and environments that warp and transform in surreal ways. With its blend of psychological tension, cinematic storytelling, and reality-bending gameplay, Control Resonant aims to push the franchise beyond the confines of the Bureau, delivering a hauntingly ambitious sequel that scales up both scope and paranoia. If you've ever wanted to play a shooter where even your toaster might betray you mid-firefight, Defect is basically cyberpunk chaos with a side of appliance paranoia. Developed by Empty Vessel, a new studio formed by veterans of Call of Duty, Quake, and Doom, Defect is an upcoming cyberpunk squad-based immersive shooter built in Unreal Engine 5. Set in the last city of mankind, ruled by an authoritarian AI known as the System, players must navigate a dystopian world where rogue police forces and gang factions clash in brutal battles. The game offers single-player campaigns for offline immersion, co-op multiplayer, and a unique 4 vs 4 vs 4 vs 4 PvPvE mode with dynamic multi-objective missions, advanced weapons, and futuristic tech. Its design emphasizes tactical squad combat, moddable systems, permadeath mechanics, and procedural generation, ensuring replayability and unpredictability. With music composed by Mick Gordon, famed for Doom, the atmosphere promises to be as intense as its firefights. Though the release date is still TBA, Defect is confirmed for Steam and Epic Games Store, positioning itself as a hybrid of Rainbow Six Siege's tactical depth, Cyberpunk 2077's dystopian flair, and Doom's raw brutality. By blending PvE survival with PvP chaos, Defect aims to deliver one of the most anarchic and adrenaline-fueled shooters in the upcoming lineup. If you've ever dreamed of pulling off a corporate heist while your buddy forgets the getaway plan and orders pizza mid-mission, Den of Wolves is basically Ocean's 11 meets Uber Eats. Developed by 10 Chambers, the studio behind Payday, The Heist, Payday 2, and GTFO, Den of Wolves is an upcoming co-op FPS heist game set in the techno-thriller future of Midway City, a sprawling corporate battleground where loyalty is fleeting and every job is a high-stakes gamble. Players take on the role of mercenaries for hire, executing missions of espionage, sabotage, and assassination for rival corporations, with gameplay emphasizing teamwork, planning, and improvisation. Unlike traditional heist shooters, the game introduces a dynamic gig economy system where corporations outsource dirty work to crews like yours, creating a world of plausible deniability and endless opportunities for betrayal. The reveal at the Game Awards 2024 showcased intense tactical gunplay, cinematic environments, and strategic decision-making, highlighting the balance between stealth and chaos. With no fixed release date yet announced, Den of Wolves is confirmed for PC via Steam, promising a blend of Payday's cooperative thrill, GTFO's tension, and cyberpunk storytelling. By merging futuristic corporate warfare with player-driven heists, it positions itself as one of the most anticipated co-op shooters on the horizon, offering a playground where every mission feels like a test of trust, skill, and survival. If you've ever wanted to roleplay as a bounty hunter who steals people's souls like they're overdue library books, ExeKiller is basically Fallout meets Ghostbusters with a cowboy hat. Developed by Paradark Studio, ExeKiller is an upcoming open-world post-apocalyptic Western shooter built in Unreal Engine 5, blending dystopian cyberpunk aesthetics with classic spaghetti Western grit. Set in the year 1998 after a global catastrophe known as the Fire, the world is ruled by corporations and populated by mutants, raiders, and machines. Players step into the boots of Troy Farrow, a bounty hunter who collects soul chips from targets, chips that literally store human consciousness, forcing moral choices about whether to kill, spare, or exploit those you hunt. The game emphasizes non-linear storytelling, player agency, and multiple endings, with missions that can be approached through stealth, negotiation, or brutal combat. Its world design promises dense vertical cities, desolate wastelands, and neon-soaked ruins, all rendered with cinematic flair. While originally slated for 2025, the project has faced delays after losing its publisher, leaving its release window uncertain. Still, the gameplay demos showcase a mix of immersive sim mechanics, RPG progression, and atmospheric exploration, positioning ExeKiller as one of the most intriguing indie titles aiming to fuse cyberpunk philosophy with Western-style survival. If you've ever wanted to fight hurricanes while looting gear and yelling at your squad mate for getting blown off a cliff, Exoborne is basically Fortnite meets Mother Nature's Rage. Developed by Sharkmob, the studio behind Vampire the Masquerade, Blood Hunt Exoborne is an upcoming open-world tactical extraction shooter set in a post-apocalyptic United States torn apart by extreme forces of nature. Players will customize powerful exo-rigs that grant unique abilities and tactical advantages, allowing them to survive not only hostile factions and rival players, but also the unpredictable wrath of the environment itself. Think tornadoes, floods, and collapsing terrain. The game emphasizes high-stakes sessions where scavenging, crafting, and fighting are all essential to survival, with mechanics inspired by The Division's Dark Zone. Many of Sharkmob's founders worked on that series. Unlike traditional shooters, Exoborne integrates dynamic weather systems as a core gameplay feature, forcing players to adapt strategies in real time. While the exact release date remains unconfirmed, trailers and previews highlight its blend of PPVE combat, cooperative play, and cinematic world building, positioning it as one of the most ambitious extraction shooters on the horizon. With its mix of survival tension, MMO-style progression, and environmental chaos, Exoborne aims to deliver an adrenaline-fueled experience where the deadliest enemy might just be the storm itself. If you thought camping was dangerous because of mosquitoes, wait until Forest 3 makes you fight aliens with chainsaws. Suddenly, bug spray feels useless. Announced at the Game Awards 2025, Forest 3 is the next entry in End Night Games' acclaimed survival horror franchise, following The Forest, 2018, and Sons of the Forest, 2024. Unlike its predecessor's grounded cannibal horror themes, this sequel introduces a sci-fi twist, with the reveal trailer showcasing crashed spaceships, futuristic tech like shoulder-mounted cranes, and hostile new environments that expand far beyond the forest setting. The game retains its first-person survival mechanics, emphasizing crafting, base building, and resource management, but now layers in alien threats and advanced technology, pushing the series into uncharted territory. End Night promises a continuation of the franchise's hallmark open-world freedom, cooperative multiplayer, and emergent storytelling, while teasing a darker narrative that explores humanity's struggle against forces far larger than tribal cannibals. Though the release date remains unconfirmed, the announcement shocked fans with its bold departure in tone and setting, positioning Forest 3 as one of the most ambitious survival horror projects on the horizon, blending the raw tension of wilderness survival with the unpredictability of sci-fi horror. If you've ever wanted a survival game where your best friend is a skyscraper-sized robot that doubles as a sunshade and a nighttime heater, Hello Sunshine is basically camping with Optimus Prime on steroids. Developed by Red Thread Games and published by Megabit Publishing, Hello Sunshine is an upcoming mystery survival RPG set in the sun-scorched ruins of a fallen corporate empire. The twist is your gigantic robot companion. During the blistering daytime, you must walk in its shadow to avoid burning alive, while at night you huddle close to its charging frame to survive freezing temperatures. Players take on the role of the last employee of a collapsed conglomerate, scavenging supplies, crafting gear, and repairing the mechanical guardian while uncovering the mystery of machines that refuse to shut down. The game supports 1 to 2 players in co-op, blending exploration, crafting, and narrative-driven survival with a unique rhythm of day-night dependency. Its design emphasizes resource management, environmental storytelling, and emotional connection to your towering ally, making survival both intimate and epic. With Steam playtests already underway and a release window marked as coming soon, Hello Sunshine stands out in the crowded survival genre by offering a literally massive twist. A fusion of post-apocalyptic mystery, colossal companionship, and tactical survival mechanics that promise to redefine how players experience the wasteland. If you've ever wanted to fix a spaceship while simultaneously betraying everyone on board, Judas is basically Among Us with therapy bills. Developed by Ghost Story Games, the studio led by BioShock creator Ken Levine, Judas is a single-player, narrative-driven sci-fi shooter set aboard a collapsing colony ship where society is controlled by machines. Players take on the role of Judas, a mysterious rebel whose actions nearly destroyed the ship, forcing them to navigate alliances with the ruling Big Three leaders, enemies who may also be their only hope for survival. The game emphasizes choice and consequence, allowing players to decide whether to cooperate, manipulate, or betray others in order to fix what you broke. Much like BioShock, it blends immersive storytelling, atmospheric environments, and extraordinary abilities, but expands into a more dynamic system of branching narratives and moral dilemmas. The setting is a labyrinth of chaos, paranoia, and philosophical undertones, exploring themes of identity, control, and rebellion. While the release date is not yet confirmed, Judas is slated for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XOS, with trailers showcasing surreal visuals, tense combat, and Ken Levine's signature blend of dystopian world building and psychological depth. Positioned as a spiritual successor to BioShock, Judas is one of the most anticipated narrative shooters of the decade, promising a hauntingly cinematic experience where survival depends on who you trust and who you betray. If you've ever wanted to fight robots in Tokyo while also worrying about whether your sushi order counts as a side quest, Last Sentinel is basically cyberpunk chaos with extra wasabi. Developed by Lightspeed LA, a division of Tencent's Lightspeed Studios, Last Sentinel is a brand new AAA open-world action-adventure set in a futuristic dystopian Tokyo. The game follows Hiromi Shoda, a protagonist navigating a city torn between authoritarian control and rebellion, blending cinematic storytelling with intense combat. Directed by industry veteran Steve C. Martin, known for his work on Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, the project brings together talent from franchises like Uncharted and The Last of Us. Revealed at the Game Awards 2023, Last Sentinel promises a richly detailed cyberpunk world soaked in dystopian science fiction, with handcrafted environments, narrative depth, and a combat system designed to feel both brutal and stylish. While the release date remains unannounced, the game is confirmed for PC and consoles, positioning itself as one of the most ambitious new IPs in the genre. With its mix of open-world exploration, cinematic narrative, and dystopian atmosphere, Last Sentinel is shaping up to be a bold entry that could rival the biggest names in cyberpunk gaming. If you've ever wanted to sprint through space while looting gear and yelling at your squad mate for dying to a door, Marathon is basically Bungie's way of proving cardio is deadly in zero gravity. Developed by Bungie, the creators of Halo and Destiny, Marathon is a PvPvE extraction shooter set on the derelict sci-fi colony ship Tau Ceti 4, where players take on the role of runners scavenging for loot, intel, and survival. Unlike traditional shooters, the game emphasizes high-stakes sessions where every mission can end in triumph or disaster depending on whether you escape alive. Bungie has confirmed a March 2026 release window with a $39.99 price point, offering full access to the game plus a roadmap of free updates including new maps, runner shells, and seasonal events. The studio has spent months refining mechanics after a rocky alpha test, focusing on dynamic environments, tactical combat, and community-driven feedback. With its blend of sci-fi lore, competitive tension, and cooperative survival, Marathon aims to carve out a unique identity in the extraction shooter genre, standing alongside titles like Escape from Tarkov and Ark Raiders. Bungie promises a cinematic presentation, evolving narrative, and deep progression systems, positioning Marathon as one of the most ambitious multiplayer shooters of the decade. If you've ever wondered what happens when a K-pop idol accidentally becomes your stealth partner in a political thriller, Mudang 2 Hearts is basically Metal Gear Solid meets BTS fanfiction. Developed by EVR Studio, Mudang 2 Hearts is an upcoming third-person narrative-driven action adventure set in a politically volatile near-future Korean peninsula. The story follows Ji Jong-tae, a soldier tasked with stopping masked terrorists in Seoul, who unexpectedly crosses paths with Gavi, a K-pop star entangled in the unfolding crisis. Their intertwined journey reveals a chilling truth about reunification, terrorism, and hidden agendas. The game blends cinematic storytelling, immersive stealth, and dynamic combat supported by EVR Studio's advanced performance capture pipeline, fluid motion-matched animations, and intelligent AI systems. Players can expect open-ended level design, spatial audio, and choice-driven gameplay, creating a tense atmosphere where every decision matters. Announced in June 2025, the title is slated for release in 2026 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, Steam, Epic Games Store, Microsoft Store. With its fusion of political intrigue, tactical espionage, and pop culture flair, Mudang 2 Hearts positions itself as one of the most unique upcoming action adventures, promising a harrowing yet stylish journey through a fractured future Korea.
지정태.
If you've ever wanted to solve crimes in a cyberpunk Berlin where even your fridge might be plotting against you, Neo Berlin 2087 is basically Blade Runner meets IKEA Paranoia. Developed by Elysium Game Studio, Neo Berlin 2087 is an upcoming third and first-person action RPG set in a dystopian future where Berlin has become a fortress city surrounded by wastelands. Originally announced as Shadow of Conspiracy Section 2 in 2021, the project resurfaced under its new name in 2023 and has since been showcased at Gamescom 2023, 2024, and 2025. The game blends cinematic storytelling, stealth mechanics, and intense action combat, offering players freedom to approach missions through investigation, hacking, or brute force. Its narrative follows a detective unraveling conspiracies tied to corruption, technology, and survival in a fractured society, while RPG systems allow for character progression, dialogue choices, and branching storylines. The environments range from neon-soaked Berlin streets to desolate wastelands beyond the city walls, emphasizing atmosphere and immersion. Built in Unreal Engine 5, the game promises cutting-edge visuals, fluid transitions between first and third-person perspectives, and a noir-inspired tone. Confirmed for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XOS, Neo Berlin 2087 positions itself as one of the most ambitious cyberpunk RPGs on the horizon, aiming to deliver a mix of detective drama, futuristic action, and philosophical intrigue. If you've ever wanted to check into a moon hotel where the minibar serves existential dread instead of snacks, Ontos is basically Soma with room service nightmares. Developed by Frictional Games, the studio behind Amnesia and Soma, Ontos is a first-person sci-fi mystery thriller revealed at the Game Awards 2025. Slated for release in 2026 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, the game is described as a spiritual successor to Soma, expanding on its themes of identity, morality, and consciousness. Players step into the role of Aditi Amani, an engineer investigating her estranged father's past within the repurposed lunar hotel Samsara, where morally complex experiments blur the line between science and ethics. The narrative unfolds in an interconnected labyrinth, offering open-ended gameplay that mixes exploration, puzzle solving, and psychological tension. Frictional promises a deeper focus on player choice, branching storylines, and immersive atmosphere, with environments designed to evoke both awe and unease. As with their previous titles, expect existential horror, philosophical undertones, and hauntingly cinematic presentation, but now scaled up with Unreal Engine 5 visuals and more dynamic systems. Positioned as one of 2026's most intriguing narrative-driven experiences, Ontos aims to challenge players not just to survive, but to confront unsettling truths about humanity, technology, and the fragile boundary between reality and memory. If you've ever wanted a game where climbing a skyscraper feels like raiding your neighbor's fridge after the apocalypse, Project S is basically vertical parkour with extra existential dread. Developed by Lionheart Studio, known for Odin, Valhalla Rising, Project S is an upcoming sci-fi post-apocalyptic action RPG powered by Unreal Engine 5, first revealed at G-Star 2022 and showcased in trailers through 2025. The game is set in a devastated future Earth where humanity struggles to survive amidst towering ruins, advanced technology, and hostile factions. Players will explore vast open-world environments, blending exploration, survival mechanics, and cinematic combat with a strong emphasis on vertical traversal and tactical freedom. Lionheart promises immersive storytelling, RPG progression systems, and multiplayer elements aiming to merge narrative depth with large-scale action. The title is currently in development for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, with an expected release window in 2026. While details remain limited, early footage highlights high-fidelity visuals, atmospheric world-building, and dynamic encounters, positioning Project S as one of the most ambitious Korean-developed RPGs on the horizon, designed to rival global AAA productions with its mix of survival tension, futuristic lore, and cinematic presentation. If you've ever wanted a game where your squad mate panics at a ghost and accidentally flashbangs the whole team, Project Spectrum is basically Rainbow Six Siege meets Scooby-Doo. Developed by Team Jade, the studio behind Call of Duty, Mobile, and Delta Force, Project Spectrum is an upcoming tactical horror shooter first revealed at Gamescom 2025 Opening Night Live. The game blends PPVE squad-based combat with psychological horror, dropping players into corrupted ember zones where reality itself twists and fractures. You'll play as armed operators tasked with hunting monsters, but the twist is a transformation system that can turn players into the very creatures they're fighting, creating unpredictable tension between allies and enemies. Inspired by titles like Hunt, Showdown, and Silent Hill, the gameplay emphasizes team coordination, resource management, and survival under supernatural pressure. ExeKiller, while offering a mix of tactical gunplay and horror-driven atmosphere. Though the release date remains unconfirmed, Project Spectrum is confirmed for PC via Steam, with console versions not yet announced. Early previews highlight its fusion of shooter mechanics, horror storytelling, and emergent multiplayer chaos, positioning it as one of the most intriguing genre hybrids on the horizon, where every mission feels like a gamble between teamwork and terror. If you've ever wanted to play as an AI stuck in a human body who's basically learning how to dodge punches and pay rent at the same time, Replaced is the ultimate "oops, I'm sentient now" simulator. Developed by Sadcat Studios and published by Thunderful Games, Replaced is a 2.5D retro-futuristic cinematic action platformer set in an alternate 1980s America devastated by nuclear catastrophe. The central location, Phoenix City, is ruled by the corrupt Phoenix Corporation, where human life is traded like currency. Players take on the role of REACH, an AI trapped inside a human body, forced to uncover sinister conspiracies while navigating morally complex choices. The game emphasizes fluid combat mechanics, combining melee strikes with ranged attacks alongside exploration of neon-lit alleys, industrial wastelands, and crumbling districts. Its narrative is deeply dystopian, focusing on themes of identity, control, and survival in a society where outlaws thrive. Originally revealed in 2021, the project faced delays but now has a confirmed spring 2026 release window for PC and Xbox Series X and S, with trailers showcasing its cinematic pixel art style and atmospheric soundtrack. With its blend of philosophical storytelling, stylish visuals, and intense action, Replaced positions itself as one of the most anticipated indie titles of 2026, promising a gripping single-player experience that fuses cyberpunk grit with noir-inspired drama. If you've ever wanted to wake up on a space station where even the coffee machine is stuck in a time loop, Rivage is basically Groundhog Day meets NASA's worst intern. Developed by ExeKiller Studio and published by Raw Fury, Rivage is an upcoming atmospheric sci-fi puzzle adventure set aboard the ARES research station, which becomes trapped in a strange cosmic phenomenon while orbiting the distant planet Vesta. Players take on the role of Miranda, a scientist who awakens to find her crew missing and the station behaving in impossible ways, with time and physics fractured into surreal labyrinths. The game emphasizes exploration, puzzle solving, and narrative immersion rather than combat, challenging players to unravel mysteries through logic and observation. With its time loop mechanics, eerie environments, and philosophical undertones, Rivage positions itself as a cerebral experience that blends mystery with existential sci-fi. The project was revealed in 2025 with a Steam page and announcement trailer, highlighting its cinematic presentation, immersive atmosphere, and handcrafted puzzles. Though the release date remains unconfirmed, Rivage is already generating buzz as one of the most intriguing indie titles on the horizon, promising a hauntingly beautiful journey through fractured reality where survival depends on wit, memory, and the courage to confront the unknown. If you've ever wanted a horror shooter where your squad mate screams louder than the monsters, Rules of Engagement is basically Resident Evil meets Karaoke Night. Developed by Tencent's Grey State Studio, Rules of Engagement. The Grey State is an upcoming horror-verse extraction shooter RPG that blends tactical gunplay, survival mechanics, and role-playing progression in a PvE-VP setting. The game drops players into terrifying zones filled with iconic monsters, where every mission is a gamble between fighting, looting, and escaping alive. Unlike traditional shooters, it emphasizes team coordination, resource management, and psychological tension, with RPG systems allowing for character growth and gear customization. Built in Unreal Engine 5, it promises cutting-edge visuals, immersive environments, and next-gen horror design. Announced in late 2025, the title is slated for release in 2026 on PC via Steam and Epic Games Store, already available to wishlist. Early gameplay previews highlight its mix of extraction shooter intensity, horror atmosphere, and tactical depth, positioning it as one of the most ambitious genre hybrids on the horizon. By merging survival horror with competitive extraction mechanics, Rules of Engagement aims to deliver a chilling yet adrenaline-fueled experience where the scariest thing might not be the monsters, but your teammate forgetting the exit strategy. If you've ever wanted a racing game where drifting feels like auditioning for an anime soap opera, Screamer is basically Fast and Furious meets Dragon Ball Z with turbocharged melodrama. Developed by Milestone, Screamer is a bold reimagining of the classic 1990s arcade racing series, now rebuilt with Unreal Engine 5 and infused with anime-inspired storytelling. Scheduled for release on March 26, 2026 for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, the game blends high-octane racing mechanics with narrative-driven gameplay, featuring rival teams locked in an illegal street racing tournament. Each team has unique leaders, motives, and secrets, creating a layered story that unfolds through animated cutscenes produced in collaboration with Polygon Pictures, one of Japan's most renowned studios. Milestone promises a mix of arcade-style speed, fighting mechanics, and cinematic drama, aiming to revolutionize the racing genre by merging adrenaline-fueled competition with character-driven arcs. Drawing inspiration from 80s and 90s anime and manga, the game's visual style and narrative tone set it apart from traditional racers, offering players both intense racing thrills and emotional storytelling. With over 30 years of racing expertise behind it, Screamer is positioned as a standout title in 2026, designed to capture both nostalgic fans of the original and newcomers seeking a fresh, stylish racing experience.
Hello? We're here for the tournament.
If you've ever dreamed of being a rat piloting a tank while scavenging spare parts like it's a post-apocalyptic garage sale, TankRat is basically Mad Max meets Ratatouille with rocket launchers. Developed by Alpha Channel and published by Kepler Interactive, TankRat is a single-player tank action-adventure set in the aftermath of a cataclysm that reduced humanity's greatest city to ash. Players step into the role of Whitaker, a digitized human consciousness known as a sleepwalker, who fuses with customizable war machines to survive in the Event Containment Area, ECA, a wasteland crawling with mechanical monstrosities. The gameplay emphasizes combat, scavenging, and rebuilding, as players dismantle enemies, harvest their parts, and upgrade their tanks to face increasingly brutal challenges. Every mission is a test of survival and strategy, with progression tied to how effectively you adapt your machine to the hostile environment. Originally revealed during the Game Awards 2025, the game is set to launch in spring 2026 for PC, Steam, Epic Games Store, and PlayStation 5, with owners of its predecessor TankHead receiving a free upgrade. With its mix of explosive mecha combat, atmospheric wasteland exploration, and narrative intrigue, TankRat positions itself as one of the most unique upcoming action titles, promising a fusion of gritty survival mechanics and customizable tank warfare that turns every battle into a desperate fight for dominance in a world consumed by mechanical ruin. If you've ever wanted to roleplay as a human snack running from Skynet's killer robots, Terminator Survivors is basically hide-and-seek with metal skeletons who never get tired. Developed by Nacon Studio Milan, Terminator Survivors is an upcoming open-world survival game set in the aftermath of Judgment Day, before the rise of John Connor. Players must scavenge, craft, and fight to endure a devastated Earth where Skynet's first prototypes patrol the wasteland, hunting down the remnants of humanity. Originally announced in 2022 with a planned 2024 release, the game has faced multiple delays, shifting to 2025 and now suffering an indefinite delay as Nacon scrapped its planned multiplayer co-op mode, reworking the project into a single-player experience. The gameplay emphasizes survival mechanics, resource management, and stealth, with players forming the early seeds of the resistance while navigating a bleak, hostile world. Built in Unreal Engine, it promises atmospheric environments, tense encounters, and a narrative-driven structure that expands the Terminator universe beyond the films. While fans are disappointed by the delay and removal of co-op, the developers assure that the game will eventually launch as a full release rather than early access. Positioned as a gritty survival take on the franchise, Terminator Survivors aims to deliver a chilling yet immersive experience where every decision could mean life or death against Skynet's relentless machines. If you've ever wanted to get lost inside a giant Rubik's Cube where every wrong turn spawns monsters instead of colors, the cube is basically geometry class with a body count. Developed by Mundfish, the studio behind Atomic Heart, the cube is an upcoming MMORPG shooter set in the same universe revealed during Summer Game Fest 2025. The game takes place inside a massive anomalous structure known as the Cube, a geometrically perfect leviathan that hides shifting corridors, dangerous phenomena, and swarms of hostile enemies. Players must band together to explore its secrets, survive its ever-changing environments, and uncover mysteries tied to humanity's fate. Unlike traditional shooters, the Cube emphasizes persistent multiplayer progression, cooperative exploration, and survival mechanics, blending RPG systems with fast-paced combat. Mundfish describes it as a place where physics and reality bend, creating unpredictable encounters that demand teamwork and adaptability. Confirmed for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, the game has no official release date yet, but its ambition lies in expanding the Atomic Heart universe into a large-scale online experience. With its mix of sci-fi horror, MMO-style depth, and shooter intensity, the Cube positions itself as one of the most intriguing upcoming titles, promising a surreal journey where every step inside the structure could be your last. If you've ever wanted to escape a giant cosmic Rubik's Cube where every wrong move spawns mutants instead of colors, the Cube Save Us is basically Tetris meets Mad Max with extra screaming. Developed and published by XLGAMES, this upcoming post-apocalyptic extraction action game throws players into a devastated Earth after nuclear war, where survival depends on venturing inside a massive alien-made cube. Within its 27 interconnected fragments, players face mutants, raiders, and rival squads, battling in brutal close-quarters combat while scavenging scarce resources. Each match supports up to 63 players in high-stakes PPVE encounters, forcing you to fight not only monsters, but also former allies turned enemies. The cube itself constantly shifts, creating unpredictable landscapes and challenges that demand adaptability and teamwork. Built in Unreal Engine 5, the game emphasizes dynamic environments, visceral melee combat, and extraction mechanics, blending survival horror with competitive shooter intensity. First revealed in August 2025 and showcased during Steam Next Fest, the Cube Save Us is slated for release in Q1 2026 on PC via Steam, with console versions yet to be confirmed. With its fusion of sci-fi mystery, apocalyptic chaos, and multiplayer tension, it positions itself as one of the most ambitious upcoming extraction shooters, promising a relentless fight for survival where every step inside the cube could be your last. If you've ever wanted to go treasure hunting in a jungle where the mosquitoes are less scary than the cosmic horrors, the Mound. Omen of Cthulhu is basically Indiana Jones meets therapy bills. Developed by Ace Team and published by Nacon, this upcoming cooperative survival psychological horror game lets up to 4 players form an expedition crew venturing into a cursed jungle in search of treasure. But instead of riches, explorers encounter monstrous Lovecraftian creatures, warped realities, and sanity-shattering phenomena that constantly test their resolve. Gameplay revolves around preparing aboard your galleon, selecting weapons and equipment, and then braving missions where teamwork and clear-headedness are essential to avoid being consumed by the jungle itself. The game emphasizes cosmic horror atmosphere, survival mechanics, and cooperative strategy, blending exploration with tense combat and psychological dread. Inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's mythos, it delivers mind-bending environments, disturbing sound design, and cinematic storytelling designed to immerse players in a world where reality itself is unstable. Announced in late 2025, the Mound, Omen of Cthulhu, is slated for release in the summer of 2026 on PC, Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, though it has not been confirmed for Xbox Game Pass. With its fusion of treasure hunting adventure and cosmic horror survival, the game positions itself as one of 2026's most chilling cooperative experiences, promising a descent into madness where every choice could determine whether your team escapes or becomes part of the jungle's curse. If you've ever wanted to see a raccoon in a leather jacket start a revolution while a rabbit DJ spins techno beats, Zoopunk is basically Zootopia after it discovered cyberpunk nightlife. Developed by Thai Games, the studio behind FIST, forged in Shadow Torch, Zoopunk is a 3D action-adventure game set decades before the events of FIST, expanding the beloved Animal Punk universe. The story chronicles the turbulent origins of Torch City, an animal metropolis teetering on the brink of revolution, blending nostalgia for fans of FIST with fresh lore and new characters. Gameplay emphasizes fast-paced combat, exploration, and cinematic storytelling, with stylized environments and vibrant art design powered by Unreal Engine 5. The game promises chaotic yet fluid action mechanics, colorful visuals, and a punk-inspired atmosphere that fuses futuristic vibes with anthropomorphic drama. Confirmed for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, Steam, Epic Games Store, Microsoft Store, Zoopunk is slated for release in 2027, though it has not been announced for Xbox Game Pass or PS Plus. With its mix of animal rebellion, sci-fi combat, and punk-style aesthetics, Zoopunk positions itself as one of the most unique upcoming titles, offering both fans and newcomers a chance to dive into a world where survival, revolution, and style collide in spectacular fashion. And that's the end of the world, for now. If you made it this far, congrats. You're officially prepared to survive on scraps, bad decisions, and pure gamer instinct. Let me know which of these post-apocalyptic games you're hyped for, which one looks like a hard pass, and which one feels a little too close to real life. Drop a like if you enjoyed the chaos, subscribe for more future disasters, and I'll see you in the next video.